Well, usually when they come in, I don't have any of the overhead lights on. It's just the lamps, and there's usually a prompt up on the board. And I like that because it comes in. It's very calming. Who I don't even know will come in my door and be like, "Can I have this class?" And they know nothing about me or the class, but they just like how it looks, and it's comforting. And so my first year teaching actually had more lamps. A lot of them have broken now, and I just like it because I don't like the overhead lights, and it's stressful and it's loud. And so I use that now when they just come in, and then when we're ready to work, I turn on all the lights, and it kind of cues them. I mean, it's almost a cue of okay, now we're getting into the work. Or so I just want. I mean, if I'm going to live here, basically, I want it to be a place that I enjoy being. Definitely like to have like some of their chalk talk. You put up a question that has to be some deep enough to engage in a weighty conversation, and they get to just have a conversation on paper. So they make comments on each other's work, or questions and comments and connections. And we're studying imperialism, and then we're looking at the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in South Africa, and about the idea of revenge versus reconciliation. So they did some chalk talks. There were more of them out there, but I just chose two to put up there. And again, just kind of a way to document their thinking, and as a way to remind them of the things that we have. It's also talked about a model, like when I do chalk talks in the future, I say something, like, okay, well, look up there, that's kind of what it's going to look like. Or like here, we're studying revolution with my freshmen, and they came up with these answers to this essential question. So I want them to, it's a kind of a reference back to the thinking that they've done. The essential questions for my freshmen for humanities for the whole year, and so every unit that we're doing, we're looking at those questions, and so kind of refer to that, like, okay, we're looking at what's the other story, and so those are kind of guiding our whole year's work. So I'm teaching humanities with English, history, and writing and communication. I felt like, and I looked at our district curriculum, and kind of thought that story would combine all of those things, because it combines, the writing of how do you tell a story, and the reading of, so what is a story. Historians look at what's the other story, and also just freshmen are they just love stories. So I thought that could kind of combine all the three disciplines, but also the 4 major units that we're kind of supposed to do for the social studies unit for our district, and of imperialism and revolution, and all those are about who's telling the story and who gets the power. And we're doing one on genocide, and what happens when when people don't hear the other people's story, or they don't care, or they think their story is more powerful. Or so I thought that was kind of something that would combine all those things, and give some sort of continuous, ongoing theme to what we were talking about the whole year. The other story, it's so funny, because they will bring that up all the time now. Like this girl found out something, like I live in a neighborhood that they wouldn't expect me to live in, and she was like, "Oh, is that your other story, Miss Hanawalt?" Or they started to really internalize that idea. But I mean, that's all we did first quarter was ask that same question, but they did it now, and they'll bring it up at the most random times in different applications, and we'll talk about a current event, and the kid will be like, "Well, but what's the other story? What else is going on there?" So that's probably the most successful I've been with that kind of having that come up in such random ways, because I don't know if I've ever really focused so much on one question for so long. Usually I guess I kind of 3 or 4 questions going, and my freshmen just did this performance with those pictures up there, and it's a place that I can refer back to what's the other story, and I can say, oh, you guys remember when we did that, and you heard Mo's other story, and they can visually look and oh yeah, I remember that. And so the lessons that were learned can kind of come back just on the wall, just things for them to think about, if they're looking at the clock, maybe they'll read Einstein's quote about never stop questioning, or I refer back to them a lot. Those are for 4 corners, where I say a statement, and then they go and they decide which if they agree or strongly agree, and then they talk to a partner about their opinions, and then sometimes kids will be convinced and they'll move over to the other corner. So it's just a way to engage in a topic besides just sit and write about it or let's have a debate about it, because it's not really a debate, and it's a authentic reason to get up and move. Like my seniors who I've had for 2 years, I wouldn't even have to explain it to them. I just say four corners and they would do it. So I just like, I mean, this is my workspace and I live here and pretty much, and you know, I like to look at my pictures of things. I'll go back there and be like, oh, who's that? Or why is that picture of those girls up there? And you know, they want to hear my story, or you know, like one thing I joke with them so much is I'm from Colorado and therefore I love the Broncos, and it's just this kind of like inside joke, which honestly, like, I don't even love them as much as I used to, but they still keep it up, and you know, they know I'm from Colorado and they give me a hard time, and so it's just a way to kind of, for them to know me personally and for them to feel like they can connect.
That's Eliza? Man, Eliza, you're looking good. You're looking good. All right.